This was a wonderful episode, start to finish. You know, you had some action, some character development, some backdrop, some planning and plotting, and I just love it. I absolutely love it.
Hunter x Hunter, episode 56, Beloved and Beleaguered.
Holy Lord, another action-packed hardcore episode from Hunter x Hunter. Holy. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, and I'm here to bring you another review on the awesome and tantalizing and thrill-a-minute tale of Hunter x Hunter. Now, the last episode, of course, saw us with, Kurapika, Leorio, Gon, and Killua have, they're all going to work together to try to take down the troop, and the Phantom Troop, and the whole idea is to grab Pakunoda first, the very, very sexy-bodied chick with the very ugly nose. And at the end of the episode, Killua, who was kind of sent ahead to sort of be the spy to look at things, is really confused as to where their actual base is now because Kurapika, who can make those copies of things, has made 50 new buildings, obviously disguising their hideout very well. So that's where things left off, and that's actually where things pick up. We wind up seeing that Kurapika is in disguise, and it's kind of funny because I'm always referring to him as a her because, number one, very feminine characteristics, number two, voiced by a female voice actor, and number three, especially in this one, puts on a disguise with long hair and a hat to look like a woman. So anyway, but Gon, Leorio, and Kurapika are in a car. It's raining out and what have you, and basically they're communicating with Killua, and they're trying to set up this whole deal so they can capture Pakunoda, right? So we wind up getting a little bit of kind of the background on what they're planning on doing, how they're planning on doing it, but really it winds up taking us into the base where the Phantom Troop members are. And what winds up happening is they go in and it finally hits Krollo that the chain user, as we know is Kurapika, is here and came here under the guise of a bodyguard for the Nostrad family because he had an interest in the auction. So they wind up deducing that it must be for the Scarlet Eyes, and that's the reason and this and that. So they wind up taking and getting the original Scarlet Eyes, so they were copied, obviously, the ones that Kurapika bought for 2.9 billion or 2.4 billion or whatever. And Kurapika goes and puts his hand on one thing, or her, I don't know if it's a him or a her, it just looks like the cousin It, with, you can see the one eye and the hair dangling. And is able to go and track where the other one is, approximately 2,500 meters away, blah, blah, blah. So, what winds up happening is Krollo says, Nobunaga says, let me go take him out, because he thinks the chain user will be there, right? He says, that's cool, you can go. I'm going to go with you, too. And so is Machi. And so is, so we got Nobunaga, we've got Shizuku, we've got Machi, we've got, who winds up going? Pakunoda, of course, goes with. And then there's the sixth one as well, and I can't remember now for the life of me who that is. Nobunaga and Pakunoda and anyway, whatever. I forget exactly now. I forget some of their names, and maybe it's Shelnark. And so anyway, they wind up going, these six. There's a half a dozen of them, and they take off from their base. Killua, of course, is still sitting on top of a building, has no idea what's going on because he really can't get a good view of anything, and his heart's beating out of his chest. He's scared shitless, actually, because he didn't want to encounter the troop members, right? What winds up happening, though, is that earlier when he talked to Kurapika about not being able to hear anything, Kurapika knows Melody has just fine-tuned, is able to hear heartbeats and everything else. So Melody winds up coming over and meeting up with Killua and is able to actually sense their footsteps and hear them in the different types of patterns of footsteps and everything else. And they're able to actually figure out that a half a dozen of them have left, where they're heading, everything else. And they start following them is the bottom line, right? So as things start to heat up and they start to follow them, and they're communicating, of course, with Leorio, who's the getaway driver, and Kurapika and Gon in the car, they wind up going and actually tracking them, getting onto a train with them, getting off. The whole time the troop, the member of this Phantom Troop, the 6 members, don't realize that anybody's following them up to this point, and wind up actually coming out of the train station, and Kurapika gets a good look at them, right? And this is the first time Kurapika's actually seen Krollo and several of the troop members, But anyway, so it's very neat how it's done with the camera work and everything else. So Kurapika goes and just gets out and takes off and starts running, and Gon follows him, right? And Leorio's like, what the hell, It's the reckless type of shit that Kurapika does that's going to get everybody killed, I get it. You're angry, you want to kill the troop, you want to get your Scarlet Eyes back for your clan, but you're not going to be able to do that if you're dead, dude, and that's the whole point here. What winds up happening is Gon and, of course, Kurapika are just hot on their heels, and Krollo, or one of them, winds up sensing what happened, right? So he goes and sends Pakunoda and Nobunaga ahead, because they're still trying to go and get the eyes back, thinking that where the eyes are is where, of course, the chain user will be. The whole time that this is going on, the only bodyguard that was left back at the hotel guarding the eyes and hanging out with the dogs was Squala, right? And Squala gets kind of the heads up that they're coming that way, so he grabs the eyes, thinking that they'll be worth a bunch of money and he can sell them off, and he's just going to quit. Fuck this job, right? He takes off and starts and gets out of the hotel, gets in a car and starts driving, away. So when Krollo splits them up, he keeps Machi and Shizuku with him, and then sends the other three off, Pakunoda and of course Nobunaga, and I think it's Shelnark. But anyway, sends them ahead, and then they're going to stop and deal with who we know to be Kurapika and Gon. Gon and Kurapika go and hide right at the last second, as they go and turn, and Kurapika's getting pissed, showing the chains, his aura's coming out, he's gonna bust some ass, and Gon's like, are you fucking nuts, right? The whole time, Killua and Melody, they're of course hot on the trail too, because they knew what was going on. They got word that they took off, they let out of the car. What winds up happening, and man, I was sitting there, my heart was just freaking beating out of my chest. They go, and Gon just goes and gives himself up and jumps out and starts talking. He buys enough time for Killua to get in place and be able to switch places with Kurapika, and Kurapika to get out of there, right? If they get the chain user, if they get Kurapika, it's all over, right? And they're not strong enough to take down even 3 members of the troop, especially with Krollo, right? So anyway, we know that obviously Gon and Killua have this history with the troop, though, so it makes sense when they jumped out that they were still trying to follow them after, of course, they'd been captured, everything else, So they kind of play dumb, and Krollo can feel and sense that there's something else going on, decides not to kill him, but just says tie him up, and they're going to capture him, right? And I'm thinking, oh, great, now we're going to get captured again. What winds up happening, though, is there was I thought it was great, there was a conversation between Gon and Krollo where he asks him, Gon's pissed, and Gon's just like, why do you just, kill people that you don't even know and have no affiliation towards or whatever, And Krollo gives him this, backdoor, half-ass answer that's not even an answer, And I'm like, okay, whatever. But really, I think it's one of those things where he really doesn't know, why he does these things. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out about his past and his terrible upbringing, his mommy beat him, and whatever, who knows? But anyway, as of right now, this dude is just like the ultimate lord of evil, that also happens to look like a really badass kind of vampire with that St. Peter's cross on his head and on the back of his jacket, his slick back hair, and his little earrings, and his special magical book that he can steal powers and put into. So they wind up going, and as they go and take off, and of course we know Nobunaga and the other group is going to try to capture Squala, or to get to Squala and the Scarlet Eyes, really. We have Kurapika and Melody, and there was actually a very good conversation between those two where Melody said, you gotta chill the fuck out, man. You gotta back up, And Kurapika's like, oh no, I can't, they'll get away. And, Melody's like, do you know why your friends gave themselves up for you? Because otherwise it would have been certain death for everybody. So, have some freaking foresight, have some respect, and think before you do shit. If I'm telling you from experience that if you just let anger consume you, there is so many things in my life that I've been angry about, and if I did what my initial instinct and reaction told me to do, I'd probably be dead or in jail, or who knows, maybe in jail and then dead at this point. You have to be able to control those emotions, and that's what Melody is trying to say to Kurapika, and he calms down and gets rid of the chains and everything, makes him invisible again. Anyway, so then the end of the episode, man, was just awesome. Squala has been cornered and stopped by Nobunaga, and of course by and Pakunoda is there as well. So she goes and pulls him out of the car, and Squala knows this is the end for him, right? So he goes and kind of whistles and gets all his dogs to go and take off over there. And as Pakunoda is questioning him, she winds up breaking one of his arms, and tell me about the chain users. I told you I didn't know anything. I'll break the other arm, right? And not once, but twice, Nobunaga, who's already a ball of emotion and anger, winds up warning him, do not move, right? And he's ready. He's got his sword drawn. He's ready to go. He wants to kill somebody. But there, as Pakunoda is asking, of course, and we know that she can go and kind of touch you and wind up reading your mind. So she's obviously picking up on what his actual thoughts are, but what she does is she asks different questions, I think, that gets him to trigger those memories, because even though he tries to hide them verbally, I think then she's able to see them in his memory, She winds up finding out there's somebody, obviously, that he cares for, and it's one of the other kind of handmaiden, people that have to go and follow around after that Neon Nostrad, that freaking little spoiled brat of a bitch that she is. and the only reason she's even treated and held in high regards is because she makes billions for her father by using her magical ghostwriting ability that she can't even remember anyway, so, fuck her. Anyway, but so Squalla goes, and he's like, I don't know anything, and this and that, and after he gets, like I said, he's got his arm broken and everything else, he knows this is the end for him. He goes to kind of turn and basically just be like, screw you, and blah, blah, and this and that, and then all of a sudden, man, whoosh, and you just see this beautiful scene where you see his head just turning and kind of flying through the air, and then they show this great perspective shot where they go and they show his body just kind of falling headless in the background by Pakunoda, and we have and then Nobunaga is in the foreground in front of you with his sword, you know what I mean, and he's just obviously gone right through him. And it's neat because there's some people that will complain, well, there's not enough blood and guts and everything else. Dude, that shit's stupid, and I don't even like hearing that argument or excuse. It's not even an argument. You can show something that's extremely violent and not have to go and actually show somebody's face getting mashed up, Game of Thrones is famous for doing stuff like that, where it's just something so over the top. It's not necessary all the time, though. With something like this, the head came off. You saw the head come off, and the way the shots were done, I thought it was much better than just showing him go right through him and just show a head go flying off with a trail of blood behind it. I thought it was much more artfully done and masterfully done. And that's how a lot of the stuff is in this series. It's brutal, but it's done in this cool way that it's like, I don't know how to explain. I don't know if it's just that's how they got to do it to kind of get it past, to get past things as far as censorship and everything. But it's good. It's good in my opinion. So anyway, things wind up ending off with, we find out that Pakunoda also is able to go and load these like memory Nen bullets in a gun. And she's like, it'll take too long to explain. I'll just shoot you in the head. Oh, that's what it was. Kortopi was the other one. I don't know how I forgot that. She goes and shoots Kortopi and Nobunaga in the head with these bullets, and there's like a light beam coming out of their head. And all of a sudden, Nobunaga gets the flashes of everything, of Kurapika, his name, and what he looks like, everything. So he obviously wants to exact some revenge on him for the death of Uvo, and that's how the episode ends off, man. So I have got to get done with this so I can watch the next one, because this shit is edge of your seat, thrill a minute, just balls to the wall, awesome. And it doesn't even have to be action every episode, because some of them that have been quieter, like last episode, I really enjoyed all the character development and what they built. So, and I absolutely love the Phantom Troop. Each member has had enough time, almost every member has had time to get fleshed out, and you're learning more about their powers, their backstory, the things that drive them, their ambitions, their motivations. And that is what makes them such good characters, okay? Not just introducing a character and going, he's bad and he's a dick just because he's a bad dick, right? And that's all, and then that's all. And then he's just a bad dick, and you hate him, and then when he gets killed, there's a fight, and he gets killed, or he gets hurt, or whatever, and you're like, okay, good, he lost, he's a dick anyway. These characters are cool because you give them depth and you humanize them. Absolutely wonderfully done. Masterfully done. My chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on, obviously, the conversation that Kurapika and Melody had with each other. Melody basically saying, man, you gotta just calm down and back the fuck up and think before you act. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, and maybe even, if you feel like sharing a time where you either used some reservation and thought and didn't act on something that could have turned out bad, or maybe times where you went the opposite and you acted before you thought. Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
Remember to follow me on my other channels as well as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.